I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry. For anyone who's watching the video, I'm sorry. Anyone who's watching this. Take my legal crack. They're just caffeine cubes. The new trend out there. My brother got them. They keep you awake, but I don't know. They taste weird. You know, it's one of those cubes that are like gummy cubes that have caffeine in. So I don't know. They're supposed to be like an alternative to energy drinks. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? You know, sometimes it's easier just to.
Well, you know, in the healthcare facility, it's kind of one of those things, you know.
But all right, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Convoluted Podcast. It's your host Jesus and Liz. How have you been, Liz? It's been a while since we recorded an episode. It's been a while since we've seen each other.
I know you weren't feeling up since. Yeah, I know. A couple weeks since outing at Bowinkles.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the last time we saw each other. That feels like a lifetime ago at this point.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the things.
I know, right? I know. I was thinking about that. When's the last time I saw Jesus? And then we were supposed to record, and then you sleep well that night.
No, yeah.
And then the next weekend, I was out of town.
Yeah, it's one of the things for, you know, we had some libations that night. I didn't think we had that much like drink.
No, I didn't think we did either.
I don't know. Maybe
by the time we drove home, I was like, okay.
No, yeah, I was okay. I even drank like a cup of tea like before I went to bed, but I just woke up like, ugh. You know that feeling. It's been a long time since I've had that feeling. So I'm like, but yeah, I like there's time where you can get yourself like motivated, but to do it, but that one I don't think I could. So I'm sorry, everyone. Sorry for that. But we are back. We are back. But how has everything been? I know we have talked. It's not like we haven't seen each other.
Blowing up. Everything.
Yeah,
Everything's blowing up.
Liz has mentioned a couple things. I don't know if she wants to mention little or a lot, or she wants to keep that to the paywall section. Like that's up to her.
I'll just say it's work related. And a merger.
Oh, something similar to kind of what we are doing too. So yeah, like a lot of mergings are happening with multiple companies out there. There are a lot of things. So it will affect a lot of people.
Yeah, but you know,
you're in the healthcare business.
The layoffs are real, y'all. The layoffs are real.
Damn, that can tell you kind of what's happening.
Yeah, but unfortunately, people are not lucky.
Yep. And that's kind of the consequences when it comes. We've talked a lot on this podcast about layoffs in different industries and stuff like that, and it's always hard. Mostly in this economy right now, it's real bad. I just genuinely don't know how people are supposed to. What's the best way? Independently support themselves. You know?
No kidding.
Like. Nowadays, you gotta be either with your family or in a group or a pseudo family or whatever to just survive.
I know. Roommates after roommates after roommates after roommates.
Yeah, and even then, you probably need a fifth roommate in that like 2-bedroom apartment to survive.
Yeah, you gotta rent both sides of the beds out.
Bunk beds.
I know, right? I'm gonna start bunking up people's. Yeah.
Like that's the only way.
I don't think there's adult ones out there. I'm just gonna say that adult stable ones out there.
Oh, you know what? That can be an industry we can develop and make money off. Adult bunk beds. Adult bunk beds. We can like no one take that idea. That idea established by the Convoluted Podcast. Did not take those. We thought of it first. But But yeah, it is rough out there. It is rough no matter what. There's been a lot happening in these 2 weeks that we would like to talk about, but a lot of it's irrelevant by this point. We might bring some up, but we're gonna try to stay as current as we can. We might bring up some topics, but for now, we're gonna start with one of the more recent times. As Liz knows, it's time for back to school. Things are happening. Kids are like away from the home now for some individuals. But because of that, it's also the season, sadly, it's school shooter season. The worst way to put it, isn't it?
I know. That really set off the whole
Like,
everything going on with that. I mean, it's crazy. It's out there. I mean, like, what was it, like the first week of school and there was already a shooting?
yeah, yeah. And my mom, actually, I was having a conversation with my mom about it. It was like a half dark joke because I'm like, yeah, it's like, she was wondering why I wasn't unfazed by it because I'm like, that's normal now. And I said, why is it normal? It was like, it's just how it is now. It's one of those things. It's the norm now. We've been so desensitized, I would say, as a
That was the exact word that went through my head, desensitized.
we are so desensitized as the U.S. Populace to these things. Not everyone. To say that everyone is, that's wrong, because there are families who do get affected, communities that get affected. It's just the greater United States do, and without getting too political, it's always like they'll never figure out the solution to this problem. So
People want to point fingers where they want to put fingers and put blame on the other person instead of themselves. I mean, it's just how it is, right?
exactly, and that's an actual perfect transition, Liz, to an article we're going to be talking about, because we're not going to be talking specifically about any shootings that have occurred, but potential shootings and what they're doing to mitigate them. And I want to hear your thoughts on this, because a Florida sheriff questioned for posting identities of teens who made school shooting threats. Hearing that, what are your thoughts just hearing the article title?
I gotta wonder why.
Okay.
Why would he do that?
So
I don't know if it's a she.
Okay, a Florida sheriff novel approach to countering the school shooting threats by exposing online the identities of children who make them is drawing ire from juvenile justice advocates, as well as others who say that the tactic is counterproductive and morally wrong. Michael Clintwood, sheriff of the Valencia? Chitwood of the Velasco County raised eyebrows recently by posting to his Facebook page the names and mugshots of an 11-year-old boy accused of calling a threat to the local middle school. He followed up with a video clip of the minor perp walk into the jail in shackles. Just hearing that, what are your thoughts just hearing that?
Damn.
Yeah, crazy.
Wow.
It is crazy. You're just kind of a 11-year-old what is it? That's kind of around the time your kid is, right? Roughly. Yeah, so imagine your child just being perp walked up. That's kind of the idea here. So, Chitwood, who said he's fed up with the disruptive, to the schools caused by the hoax, he has promised to publicly identify any students who make such a threat. On Wednesday, another video appeared online showing two youths around age 16 and 17 in handcuffs being led into separate cells, with the sheriff calling them knuckleheads. Okay, let's hear what the locals say. The local community reaction to Chitwood's strategy has been largely supportive, with the public comments to the post praising him for taking a stand amid an increase of number of threats and actual shootings, including the one earlier of September at the Georgia high school that killed 4 people. Yep, that's what we were just briefly talking about a little bit ago. Quote, something has to be done. Where are the parents? Chitwood said, adding to his department dealt with 54 in 12-hour period. Whoa.
Damn, that's a lot.
Following the killing of 2 students and 2 teachers, and the Appalachia High School. Wait, what was it? So adding his apartment dealt with 54 threats in 12 hours. That is a lot of manpower and resources to.
That's like 5.5 threats every hour.
Oh God, the workload.
Right? I'm doing my math right.
Yeah, roughly.
And that's give or take, somewhere around there.
And that's just one county. That's just one county.
He's not even counting all the counties that we have in this United States.
I can kind of see why he's upset now.
I understand it too. 54 in like 12 hours. Damn, I can understand his frustration, and I understand where that, why,
Okay, but several experts, while acknowledging the anxiety and disruptive the threats garnered, questioned that the effectiveness of the sheriff's reaction. Quote, while it might feel good in the moment to shame and scare a child, these kind of tactics ultimately don't work. Melissa Guman, senior policy counsel for the National Youth Justice Network, told the Washington Post. Daniel Mayers, a criminology professor, a Florida State University, an expert on the school shootings. Damn, you have to be an expert on school shootings, damn. Said that while Florida law allows the sheriff to identify minors charged with felonies, such as
such a move violates the principles of juvenile justice system.
Okay. The juvenile records were supposed to be confidential for a reason. The idea was that the kids would have a second shot in life. But he conceded that school shootings are just really unbelievably scary and concerning to the people. I don't disagree with that. It's been a rise in these last couple of decades. I'm gonna say decade, not years, decades. They have spiked.
I think we're more of we are seeing a drastic too, because for 4 years kids were not really in school, right? Due to COVID, 3.5.
True.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm saying overall, as the years, like after we.
Yeah. I think we're seeing we're an incline, but I think it really popped up after COVID.
Oh yeah, because everyone was back to school. Let's see here. That he considered it. Sure, yeah. Marcia Levick, chief legal officer and co-founder of the Juvenile Law Center, questioned Clint Chitwood's motives in the interview with New York Times. It is a goal to shame, or is it a goal to prevent? She said. That's a good question. He doesn't need to parade this 11-year-old child, in front of a camera to achieve his purpose. Just to do a traditional thing, arrest, charge, that don't add the layer of shaming, embarrassing, humiliating, and traumatizing. That is definitely something that kid is going to live with forever. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. And they may develop a revenge threat against this officer.
Okay, let's continue. The article's almost done. We can fully discuss this. Leverett has said they accepted that the sheriff was reacting in a strong manner to try to deter students from making hoax calls. That's the other thing, just making hoax stuff. Reducing the risk of real gun violence. He's trying to respond to terrible situations. We also have to be aware of the sort of dragnet of children that may not threats are completely non-serious. Doing a sweep of any kid, I do think, raises question. Talking to the Associated Press, Max Schulter, whose 14-year-old son Alex was among the 14's murder victims of 2018 majorities. That's so many high schools. In Parkland, Florida, he welcomed Chitwood's approach. We had a culture of complacency that led to the Parkland shooting. We can't be complicit anymore. We should be holding the individuals that participated these or perpetrated these threats and became mass shootings to the highest extent of the law, and ultimately we should be holding their parents responsible. That's a different question we can talk about. In April, the parents of the students who killed 4 students in the Michigan high school in 2021 was sentenced to 10 to 14 years after they were found guilty of involuntary manslaughter for failing to prevent their son's actions. It was the first conviction of any parent of the perpetrator of the U.S. school shooting. Meanwhile, in August, the jury found that the parents of the former student charged with killing 10 people in a high school near Houston in 2018 did not bear financial responsibility for the shooting. In Georgia, the father of the alleged Appalachia shooter is facing charges including second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter. Okay, so these are like different cases that have and have not. So this might be close to be setting a precedent. Chitwood was critical of parents of students in his county accused of making the hoax threats. Said that he was investigating if they had held financial or criminal liability. Since parents, you don't want to raise your kids, I'm going to start raising them. Ooh, those are some strong words right there. Every time we make an arrest, your kid's photo is going to be put up on there, and if I can do it, I'm going to perp walk your kid so that everyone can see what your kid is up to. Ooh, okay. So there's a lot to discuss on this thing. So let's start with the idea of showcasing. I think that's the best way to put it. Showcasing, quote, minors who do these types of threats. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's a good idea. Just because it does have ramifications for later on in life, but I also think there's got to be a way to start making people wake up and realize. He said that we're being complacent, like you said earlier, before we even started this conversation. Like, we have been complacent about it. We're totally immune to the idea of it happening. It's an everyday occurrence. It just happens, and I think we need to do something about these hoaxes. And maybe if we were a little bit more involved, maybe if we had to kind of wake people up, then this is it. I don't know, but something has to be done. I don't think it should be appropriate to post, kid on there. I think there has to be something. Whether if that's a hoax, it should be taken and put into juvenile halls to kind of get their mind straight. I mean, I think every threat we hear should be put in a juvie hall. I think we should start raising more juvie halls if that's the case. If these kids are threatened, and maybe get them psychological help because their parents obviously are not doing anything to help.
Yeah, so that's a good statement. It is one of the things where it is a very strong thing to be posting the images and showcasing them around. Like it is a strong, I don't know if it's a deterrent, but it's a good like showcase to all the other kids around, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this because I don't want to be paraded around or be called a threat. Because we'll just note the 11-year-old kid. He's like, this kid was, quote, maybe potentially joking around. Because what this specific one, I think he was posting to his friend groups about a school shooting, and that's why, and then posting his like BB guns and Nerf guns and all that stuff, and like a school shooter would, and joking with his friends. But that could lead to other things potentially. But that's just speculation
That
on
could
my
be
part.
a serious underlining condition right there that this kid might need help, and he's asking and screaming, but nobody's listening.
And then, like I said,
even though they're not real guns now, what happened were.
Exactly. So the idea of like
Columbine, where people were, it's just like Columbine. Remember, they were joking and teasing and shows, and
then it became real.
it became real. And how many kids lost their lives?
Oh, it's been a while since I remember that. I used to know some of those
But
stats.
I mean,
Oh yeah,
think about it, Columbine. Think about it. I mean, they were exactly the same thing. They were talking about it, bragging about it. and it escalated.
So
Nobody
yeah,
did anything to step in. Even though they supposedly, I don't think they really truthfully. That's my personal thing. I mean, it escalates. I think, social media kind of helps expose these things a little bit better,
but it
but at
also
the same,
social media also cultivates this type of thing.
where are the parents again in this situation? These kids are for help.
So yeah, it's one of the things where like social media is
Attention.
yeah, and like social media also kind of cultivates these like pocket circles of things that just like breeds these types of things.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think if this is the only thing we have, I think that's not a bad idea. If this is the only way to start, because yeah, definitely the idea of as we were kids, if someone was getting punished for doing something, we wouldn't do it again. You know, that's kind of the same mentality that they're doing. Like, oh, that guy is pushed that kid. He went to timeout. I don't want to go to timeout. I'm not gonna push kids. Um,
And I mean, that was always a thing. You go into the school, you got detention. You know what I mean? Like, we were always aware and when kids got into, especially in front of our parents, they did us too, for the siblings. You don't do this, and this is what happens.
exactly. I think that's the mentality he was trying to go for, because he did make that final statements where I'm gonna read it verbatim. Every time, since parents you don't want to raise your kids, I'm going to start raising them. End quote. And definitely some parents have become complacent, mostly because a lot of them are in situations where it's hard for them to be around because the economy. Some of them are not a nuclear homes. I think that's the proper term. There some of them are just very unstable. Some just are just in very tough situations that it's kind of hard for parents to be around. Not to say that that's an excuse, right? That's not an excuse, right? At the end of the day, going into the next portion of this topic, where should parents be responsible for some of these things? What do you think, Liz? Should parents
I think
be?
parents should have a responsibility. I mean, they're supposed to be responsible for the gun safety, so put it in a spot that A, the kids can't get to, and B, have a lock and code on it. I mean, it should, or even like thumb it, thing. I mean, I don't care, but it's got to be some sort of like protection of these kids, or maybe remove them from the households. If you're not using them, why have them? Oh, for your safety and protection? Well, the kid who's gonna access them is not, you know, you know.
True. Or in the case of this recent shooting, it was literally just a gift, a Christmas gift for his son. So, yeah. And that's after he got investigated by the FBI earlier about shooting, but they didn't have enough evidence. So, even after that, he still gave his son a gun for his Christmas. After the whole
Okay, definitely after they got investigated by the FBI.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, the FBI are no longer looking at you, but here's your gun. Happy birthday.
So, I think in that case, yeah, you go to jail. Like, yeah. But yeah, I think there should be a level of responsibility held by the guardian of the child. I'm going to say it that way. Because they are responsible for whatever they do, like to a very high extent. Because you are, well, number one, you are giving a weapon to a child. So,
Hmm.
and it is your responsibility to kind of handle them until like they're 18 and then just kick them out.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go get a job at 16.
Yeah, at this age, actually, talking about that, we can jump over if you have any minute to talk. Is that's actually funny. That there's something that happened working at. But is there any final thoughts on
Oh
that?
yeah, that one. Yeah, I saw what you posted.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a good transition. You're transitioning perfectly.
I know. I am on it.
But do you have any
Woo.
other final thoughts as far as the whole, what the sheriff said, how he's handling? Any thoughts on parents' responsibility as a parent yourself?
I think it's absolutely a parent's responsibility. I'm trying to be so hard on my kid, but at the same time so lenient. Because my kid's a good kid. But at the same time, I also know that they struggle with a lot of um mental things. So I am always there to support it. Like I also have to be communicated with my feelings and say, hey, this is what I feel. Or this is what's going on. I'm trying to be as open with my kid. There's stuff that I am kind of keeping behind a little bit of a wall, but that's mine to take care of, mine to mess with. But also saying, hey, this is a two-way street and we need communication. And I think parents are forgetting, hey, we really do have to push to communicate. And it might be hard at times, but we have to keep trying every day, even though it might be wall of a teenager mood, like, I don't want to talk to you. But I mean, I think parents need to be more involved, even though I understand that a lot of parents are not nuclear families or both parents are super working just to make it work. I mean, I get it. I get it. I absolutely get it. I'm a single parent. I absolutely understand everything. So I think there should be responsibility on parents who just kind of, you know, it's just a phase. It's fine. Like, no.
There are
We have to
some
take this a little bit more
yeah.
serious.
There's some phases that are less dangerous than others.
Yes,
If
exactly.
if your kid's in a yo-yo phase, that's not gonna really do much. So okay,
Right.
talk. Yeah. So talk. So
Oh.
go ahead and start with
All
this.
right.
Sending kids to work, Liz. I know that's what you said.
Kansas cult leaders convicted of forcing children to work 6 days without pay. Defendants were members connected to what was known as the Nation of Islam and the Value Creators, which was labeled a cult in 2018. Uh, 6 members of the Kansas-based cult has been convicted in a scheme to house children, overcrowded, rodent-infested facilities, and force them to work up to 16 hours a day without pay, while subjecting them to beatings and other abuse.
Are you out of your mind?
Wow. The defendants were either high-ranking members of the organization formerly known as the United Nation of Islam and the Value Creators, or were wives of the late founder Royal, and the U.S. Department of Justice said Monday in announcing the verdict. After a 26-day trial, jurors convicted all 6 defendants of conspiracies to commit forced labor. One of the 6, Kaba Mijid 50, was also convicted of 5 counts of forced labor. Under the guise of false pretenses and coercion, these victims, some of whom are young as 8 years old, endured inhumane and current conditions, Special Agent Stephen Sirius said in the written statement. Prosecutors said the group, which is labeled a cult by feds in 2018, beat children and imposed severe dietary restrictions. One of the victims was held upside down over train tracks because he would not admit to stealing food when he was hungry, prosecutor said. Another victim resorted to drinking water from a toilet because she was so thirsty.
Holy shit!
Bruh.
Ugh.
You have to be thirsty for that.
Yeah, no kidding. Jenkins, who died in 2021, had been a member of the Nation of Islam until 1978, when he founded the separate United Nation of Islam. He persuaded his followers that he was shown the proper way to rule the earth after being taken through the galaxy by aliens on a spaceship. Why does it always involve some sort of like spaceships and alien people?
Yeah, when it comes to these things, you can't. It has to be something extraordinary, something very divine, out of the norm. It garners people. There's people want something, and when it's more fantastical, difficult to believe, it sometimes even more enticing, I would say.
At one point, the group had hundreds of followers.
Oh wow.
Wow, yeah, crazy. Prosecutors said that at the beginning of October 2000, the organization ran businesses such as gas stations, bakeries, and restaurants in several states using unpaid labor from group members and their children.
Oh wow.
Parents
So it was a community.
Parents were encouraged to send to unlicensed in Kansas City, Kansas, called the University of Arts and Logistics of Civilization, which did not provide appropriate instruction in most subjects. No, duh.
Bruh.
Instead of some of the child victims worked in businesses while others were trafficked in other states, including New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Georgia, and North Carolina, the indictment alleges. I feel like I watched this on a documentary series.
I think it happens more than we think. It happens more than we think. Like
Yeah.
like school shootings.
Yeah. I like this thing. I was like, what?
Hey, this is where this is kind of also kind of talking what I was talking with my mom and some coworkers about. It just people aren't aware of things like this until it becomes news, major news, or it becomes water cooler talk, or it just becomes that. It's just like, oh, that was happening. It wasn't until a couple months ago, a couple cities near me, there was some sex trafficking happening in the town there. There's just like a couple massage parlors that were, where it wasn't a massage parlor. So if you really wanted to get a happy ending, you would go to those places. And it was like, and they were running for years, and then they got caught. And then our coworkers were like, oh, that was happening? I didn't know that. And I'm like, yeah, it happens. Like, oh, it does? It happens. Like, I didn't think it was ever going to happen around here. It happens everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were talking about the whole Chinese lab that happened in that little quiet town. Sometimes it's just those little inconspicuous towns. Even though this was in Kansas City, a bigger town, right? But sometimes it can happen anywhere. If it can happen in small towns, it can be happening in your neighborhood. It can be happening in your backyard. That's the scary thing about some of these things. Okay, that's pretty much the end of the article. But yeah, it when it comes to these cult stories, like I've been doing some deep diving into cults as of recently, just learning about them, because there's been a lot there. Like I don't know what your knowledge on different cults, or like some of the bigger ones, like the
some I do know some of them,
like the big ones, right? Like the Manson family.
Dived in them? Nah.
Like the big ones, right?
Like the Manson family, the Kool-Aid one in like Texas. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the one or two other ones I've heard over the.
Yeah.
No, I don't really keep up with them. I should, but
I don't think you should. But it's interesting too. What's interesting is,
well, I would like to know if they're nearby me. Like, okay, I'm avoiding those people because
true.
I know what they're doing.
That's true. I've been learning some of the ones of the past, some of the ones that have been gone up and ended for reasons or another. Just to kind of get an idea of what happened. Some cults were like eliminated by even our own governments too. Like it's been like, and for serious reasons. There's I think we might. What do you think of doing like some bonus episodes, just kind of diving into some of the ones I've looked into, so you can get a garner. There's some
I've watched some documentaries about some of them.
Yeah, so you can use that and put in your idea, like, oh, I know that this, yeah. There's a lot there. So if you let us know down in the comments if you want us to dive a little deeper, because the idea of cults sounds so far-fetched to quote the normal people, but once you're kind of indoctrinated into those groups, it's hard for you to get out. That becomes your world. They become your family, and it's hard to disagree with them, because that's what you've been around, and that's what you've been kind of like not bred, but like groomed to know and learn and believe.
Understand and accept and turn a
Exa-
blind eye, basically.
Exactly. Like it's hard for people to sometimes believe like, oh, I would never be in a cult. There's a lot of people that would. Mostly in this day and age right now. Like right now, this day and age is the perfect time for people get indoctrinated because of how bad the economy is. People want an answer, except like even politics in itself is its own kind of style of cult. You know, you want to be part of a group that accepts you. You want to learn. You want to understand like people who are on your side. You want someone to blame.
And look the part and
So like right now is like if we like honestly you and me could probably start a cult pretty easily if we just said the right words and like gave people not only hope but a reason to blame something else for their problems, and they would follow us. Like I'm not saying we have the answers. The thing is like we find the problems, and I think that people don't want to hear that. The thing is we can find the problems and we can try to find the solutions, but we don't have the ability. You and me do not. But we do have the ability to blame the problems on others and have other people agree with us, and they would like, yes, I understand that. Like, I like what this person's telling me. Like, yeah, and then that becomes the next part, and they start listening to more, and they just want to help, and then they just like, oh, it just becomes a cycle, and it can be a good or bad thing. There, like cult is just a stronger term for just kind of like different things. Like what what's the this is fun. This is like the YouTuber thing. What is the Google definition?
religions are cults. If you think about it.
Yeah. So let me see here. The Google definition. Oh, it's not even like.
Ooh, I won't let you look it up.
There we go. Okay, this is what Google says. It's a system of religious venerations or devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. A relatively small group of people.
Venerations? Is that what you said? Venerations?
Venerations, yeah. And devotion towards a particular figure or an object. A relative small group of people having a religious belief or practice regarding by others strange or sinister, or a strange or sinister. So, for the most part, it's when you're just kind of putting your faith on a single individual. So that's more cult-like. That's what cult leaders are. When you're no longer following like some cults start with some religious like foundations, but then they kind of the leaders start to twist those beliefs to become like you are. So if if it was me, by helping me, you're helping yourself. It's not like by helping the group, you're helping everyone. Like you're following the person, or even an object or a group of people called leaders and stuff like that. So if it was you and me, it would be like, believe in me and Liz, we would help you, stuff like that. And that's how it would become. It's like our thoughts and actions would be what you guys would, and that's how we would direct people and then stuff like that. And then just like it, like we were saying earlier, it becomes a point where people want to have someone take the reins because they're just fed up. I think you probably felt that recently, right?
Fed up, tired, exhausted.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Exactly. And it wouldn't have been easier just if someone else took the reins and like, okay, just tell me what I need to do to make everything better, right? Wouldn't that be easier for you?
Mm-hmm. We'll have to sacrifice to some sort of god, and
Like things are gonna get better after that. Okay. How many goats do I need?
absolutely. Okay, sure. I know, right?
Like, all right, I'll get those goats ready for you, and hopefully by next week, my life will be 100% better. And it becomes this thing where people just abuse the people that they are following, and that's where it just becomes this story. Like definitely, I think it becomes more difficult when it's about children, right? When we talk about things like this, like we did
Yeah,
about the story.
absolutely. I think it's absolutely traumatic. I mean, especially those who went beyond labor. They went beyond that.
Oh yeah, they were beyond. They were
That's
literally
incredible.
beating these children, starving these children, and it's once again these stories where it happens. People like this happens, and it was happening in a very big city too. Kansas City. Is it big? Yeah, I would consider Kansas City big. Not very big, but it's a big city, right?
It's a pretty decent size. I mean, think about it.
Yeah, I would consider it a big city.
West.
So yeah, it is very disappointing.
Skyscrapers, I think.
But that's where we get to the point where we really have to be understanding with and look at what's happening around in your community and kind of like, this doesn't seem right. Because definitely there's been times where as a kid I was helping around during my uncle's farms and helping around for different events and stuff like that. Was I getting paid? No, but
we were never getting paid with those events. Come on.
exactly.
That was volunteering. That's what the word was. Keyword volunteering.
So, and a lot of people do that. A lot of parents for like small businesses do that. They have their children quote volunteer, like to help the business. Should we hold that against them? I don't think so. If it's at the kid's discretion, that's the word I want to use.
Yeah, but I think at the same time you should be clothing them and feeding them and not beating the shit out of them.
No, Liz, that's how you make sure they are working right.
Come here. Let me get in my whip for you. Get back to work.
Look at that shit.
So, yeah, we'll see what this comes about, and sadly, it took this long for things to kind of get sorted out. But any final thoughts there as we continue with this story of kids? Actually, we have one more kid story.
No, it's getting sadder and sadder. No, that's sad. It's just disheartening and upsetting and yeah, not good at all.
All right, let's continue to see how kids are reacting and families are, because recently Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, and KSI launched Lunchables competitor that they claim is quote healthy. What nutritionists think. Now, you and I have been on talking about Mr. Beast a lot in some past episodes, and now he has released a Lunchables competitor, Liz. And we even talked about Lunchables a couple months ago because they had quote lead in them, remember?
That's funny.
Okay, so sorry, we are back, everyone. So going back, what are your thoughts of a new competitor for Lunchables?
I've seen in grocery stores, they're making a healthier version, like organic versions of it. So I don't know how much healthier they are, but I wonder if they're better than. Well, I'm assuming they're a lot better than the actual truly Lunchables. I don't know. Can these guys beat it? I mean, I kind of am obsessed right now. You know, Mr. Beast is on the brink of something.
Exactly, yeah. like I said, we were talking about Mr. Beast for a while. He is in the pits of a lot of allegations, and definitely Logan Paul is. Well, you don't, how out of these three, you only know one of them, right, Mr. Beast? You don't know the other two? Why I can never hear. I can't hear you. Not glowing. You know how there's supposed to be a green border? Yeah, you're not having any green border. There she goes.
I hope this is better.
I can hear you now.
You can't see me?
I can see you now. Okay. Yeah, you're just not like your audio was not coming out at all during the whole conversation. And you're spazzing out again.
That was weird. All right. Of course. I'm not even talking again. I'm muted.
Okay. I caught half of that. It was all like like a good second delay. Like you moved voice.
I don't know why.
Okay, there you go. That's better. I think you just have to talk a little bit more slower, and that is
Charged everything.
It's probably just your connection. It's your connection. Because you have your thing over Wi-Fi, right?
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, normally we don't have this big of issue unless you're like everyone's using the Wi-Fi. It should be fine. We're at the end. We can finish this topic and then call it. All right, let's continue. So, so as we were talking earlier, Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, and KSI have announced that they will be collaborating to compete with Kraft Heinz Lunchables meals kits with their own, quote, healthier offerings called Lunchlies. I already don't like what they're called. Lunchlies is not the best name. Like, Mom, I want a Lunchlies. Like, you could have come up with something better than that. As a kid, were you a Lunchables kid who wanted one? Zero audio came out from you. I'll be honest right now. Like, I could AI your voice say anything and that'll be funny. I'm sorry, everyone who's listening. We are trying our best at this end of this episode. We might have to call it here because Liz is just having so much technical issues, which is fine. We can. No, Liz is a mime at this point. At this point, Liz should just learn ASL. I think that's what it is, right? ASL. To be able to communicate with us. Sorry for our listeners if that's because.
Right.
But yeah, we'll figure it out. And we'll figure it out, and we can continue with this topic at another day.
I'm muted again.
Were you muted the whole time? Were you muted?
I think. I know.
Okay, never mind. It was just on Liz's. It was Liz this time. It wasn't a computer problem. She just muted herself. Which is technically it is a user issue right there. A user issue. She's muted again. You muted yourself again. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry. For anyone who's watching the video, I'm sorry. Anyone who's watching, this is a video episode. We didn't really show a lot on screen, but yeah, I'm sorry, everyone. I think we're gonna call it there. We'll talk about it on another day. But yeah, everyone, thank you for watching. I hope you watched this episode. This is funny as fuck. As we were ending it, it was a very hard episode. But
I don't know why voice is in and out right now. Seriously.
So, everyone, thank you again for listening or watching. Definitely watch this one. We'll have more fun episode.
No.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Not.
All right. We'll catch you on the bonus. We're outside, but Liz and her mom have been out here longer than we have, and they have a story. Go for it.
We nearly avoided the rain the first night.